how often do you look to what's happening in the world to figure out how great you are? How gifted, how special, how blessed? Because in Unity, we're always talking about going within, correct? So that you don't go without. However, there are gifts all around us all the time that are gifting us to stay present, to realize, oh, like Reverend Rose said, I can be that rocket soaring if we change our mind and raise our consciousness, right? And of course, we can dance. Wasn't it Leanne Rimes who wrote that? If you have a choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. If you look at the word guidance, Guidance, I picked it apart and said, oh, God, you and I dance. Sometimes we lead and sometimes we follow. Have you ever watched a couple that's dancing and they're so magical? I think someday I'm going to grow up and I'm going to learn how to ballroom dance like that. But you see that someone's leading, and of course then the other person follows. And it's a good analogy of how we need to live life. Are you in charge or is God? I have to deal with that every day because sometimes I think I'm in charge. Anybody else? So if we can remember, oh, I'm going to put out my hand and I'll be led through the dance that I need to do today. But it takes us to put the hand out, doesn't it? To then be invited into the dance. And then there's another quote that says, you know, one step forward, one step back is really just that you're doing the cha-cha. Right? So it's not about going, oh, I'm going backwards. No, we go forward and we go back, don't we? And so make your life a dance. That's not what we were going to talk about today, but when, you know, you hear a song, which is what? Praying twice, so you get inspired. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is how do we live in the abundance of all that is? First of all, do you know that we live in an abundant world? Show of hands. Yes? Okay. If you have any questions about that afterwards, please, I'll help you see things a little differently. It's often said that the most important part of our spiritual work is embodying who and whose we are. So every day, how are you embodying who you are and whose you are? Whose are we? You are us. We are the beloved, as our daily word said today. We are the beloved. But we are of God, born in the image and after the likeness. Now, sometimes life happens. Sometimes we have those rumbles, but they're not so majestic, are they? And you're thinking, when is this going to end? Right? So if we can then go back in and get to a place where, oh, I remember who I am, and I remember whose I am. Fillmore goes on to say, as I truly understand the vast, limitless nature of spirit, as well as my relationship to infinite spirit, then truly everything I state, spoken word, will easily manifest in my experience. How often does that happen? Maybe it's happening, but I'm not seeing it, right? Maybe I'm so involved with what I'm doing, I'm not realizing, oh, there was a rocket launch at 10:21 today. Do you remember Barbara McGillicuddy, those of you who were here Christmas Eve, the tall redhead? She was singing the national anthem today. How exciting is that? How exciting. She was nervous. And I said, you'll do fine. Gosh, you've got this, girl. And we've got your back. So how often do you wake up in the morning and say, okay, it's going to be great. I put my hand out. I've got my dancing shoes on. What? What will happen? You get a dance partner. Absolutely. So I'll stop asking questions. We get to choose how we're going to show up, don't we? And who our dance partners are going to be, right? Do you realize that in your mind, we have the thoughts that create our lives? Yes? So Eric Butterworth says, lack of any kind in the human experience is the result of some kind of obstruction of the free flow part of our own creative process. When I first read Eric Butterworth's book, In the Flow of Life, I went out and got myself a 64-pack of Crayola crayons so that I could remember that I am the creator of my life. I don't share them all the time because people break the points. And this was before they had the sharpener in it. But how are you remembering that you're the one that's creating? Are we going to have rocket steam that we look up into the sky and say, wow? Or is it just, another day, I'm just driving to work? And or are you making it fun? Are you making each day fun? It's so interesting in Unity because it's always connected. The third principle that we have at Unity is we co-create. How are you co-creating? How are you choosing to see things differently or think about things differently so that your life can flow? I laugh because I think about all that's been going on this week historically in life and think about someone said, and wait, what's new thought? And I thought, well, it's whatever Jesus said and how he lived. Well, that doesn't seem new. I said, I know. I'm not sure who named it. But that's what Unity's, that's where we're put under the category of new thought. But it was 3,000 years ago that Letsau said, human spirit has source in the cosmic flow. So it's not new. But we remember, which was what Reverend Rose invited us in our meditation, to remember the truth of who we are and our greatness. The secret of prosperity, Butterworth says, is that it comes through us and not just to us. Ooh, busted, right? Because we have a part in our lives, don't we? And we've talked about this divine paradox. You come to church and we say, peace be still. And then you go out into the world and you see the billboards and it says, just do it, Nike, and be all that you can be. And then you think, oh, wait a minute, I was just at church this morning and I learned from Reverend Rose to just be still. It's about balance, isn't it? And choice. And choice. And most importantly, always an inside job, not an outside job. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a colleague of Fillmore at the same time they lived, and he says, Emerson insists we must unlearn the wisdom of the world. And what did Scripture tell us? To be in the world and not of it. So what do we have to unlearn? Yada, 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 whatever you call it. I call my monkey mind. Some people call it all different things. But what have you learned that's no longer applying today? Right? Lots of stuff. So how does it apply today? Prosperity is about consciousness of the flow of substance. And we're grateful for your tithes as well. They keep the church going. But it's not just about the money in your hand. How do you figure out how abundant you are? So one of the things that I've learned, most of you who watch Facebook, watch it, whatever you're doing with it, see that I'm always at the beach about something, right? And so I've been hoarding my shelves. And there's Ziploc bags full. And I said to Reverend Rose, well, maybe for this in the flow and what does prosperity look like, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. And I opened my Ziploc bags after I washed them, and I pulled out all of my shelves that are still connected. So this is your gift today from us here at church to represent several things. First of all, if this shell can make it through the surf and over the seaweed and everything that happens and still shows up together, connected, I'm pretty sure that I can get through life with whatever fastballs come at me, right? So there's several ways. That's how I look at it. The other way, when I first found one, I thought, oh my gosh, this is Reverend Tom telling me I'm still connected to you, honey, even though I have angel wings, right? And then, I think most important, what we'd like for you to remember about this is no matter where you are in your travels, you're connected to this unity community. This is your spiritual family. There's always a hole, not always, but most of the shells have a hole in them, right? Because that's where the little animal comes out, is what I've been told. I have never seen that happen. So we have holes, don't we? I've been told that, you're broken, Therese, and I don't want to be broken. So I don't like that word. So I don't like to say we're broken. But certainly, I have parts that aren't where they need to be consciously or where they need to be metaphysically. But that's okay. We call that side the shadow. And when we stand in the sun, there's always going to be a shadow, isn't there? And that's part of us. So today, while we're having a song, maybe during the love offering part, I'll go around and hand you all of these. There's some that are just hanging on, right? Isn't that what happens sometime in life? And it gets all twisted and jacked up like that, but it's still connected. So how are you remembering who and what your source is? Even here at church, we know that God is our source for all of our good. And as a church community, we, as the members and people who attend here, we're the resource. That's why we receive a love offering every week, to keep everything going. And sometimes, I'm hanging on and I still put my $1 in, or my $100, whatever it is, because if I don't give, I'm not going to receive. And it hit me upside the head as I was hoarding these. As I opened my Ziploc bag, and so many of them were no longer connected because I had stuffed them all in there, and I'm hoarding. I can't hoard. It's not going to serve me. So the more I give, the more I receive. I know that in life, and I do that with my tithing and everything else I do with my times and my talents, but I was hoarding my shells. Then it's what? Incongruent in my life. And so easily we know, even as I was packing these up this morning, that sometimes when stuff drops, they're going to break. Doesn't make either of the parts any less whole. I'm no less whole because Tom has angel wings. So it's really interesting how we can look at life and see, what am I supposed to learn today? Remember, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, you'd see bumper stickers that say, the one with the most toys wins. Because we came consciously and developmentally and historically out of what spiral dynamics tells us is the orange consciousness, which is all about being and having and doing. And so for someone who has had and who has, and in between there's a big gap, it's not about hoarding. So I'm so honored that you're going to have my shell. I'm not sure how honored you are, but I'm honored that you're going to have one. And take it, and if nothing else that you remember is that there's always somebody here thinking of you on your prayer list. Someone asked me the other day, well, you always say go within or you go without. Where did you get that? I said, from Jesus. They were like, from Jesus? But that's it. He said, he articulated the within-out process. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all things will be added unto you. That's in Matthew, chapter 6:33. So how are you building yourself through time of prayer or meditation or beach walks or whatever it is that you do so that you're full up inside? All you need is inside. And then you reach out to go to the rest of the resources. Goes on to say, it's not about a place in space, but the depth of consciousness, and we must continually direct it by the attitudes we choose. And we've talked about our attitudes being contagious, haven't we? Whether or not we want to catch them is a whole other story, right? So are you contagious? Yes. Is it a good way or a bad way? We get to choose. How is the flow going through you? How is it happening, and how are you choosing to be the flow? How are you living heaven on earth in this moment? I had the honor of doing a celebration of life service for one of my classmates this week. And it's an honor because I don't think there's any bigger honor, I think Reverend Rosewood and Dixie, to be asked when someone asks you to pray with them. So we're sitting in hospice. She's 42, and cancer is eating her. And her dad said, "Why doesn't God have mercy on her?" And I didn't metaphysicalize. I said, "I don't know. I don't know the answer. But what I know is your family learned what love looked like when you got on the plane for the first time." Jennifer's father lived in Virginia. Jennifer was at Unity Village. 65 years old, never flown, got on the plane by himself, changed in Atlanta, got to Unity Village in time to speak with her. I said, that is an outward expression of love, an outward expression of getting out of your discomfort to be of service to your family. He said, "Do you think it makes a difference?" I said, "More than you'll ever know." He was there for his wife, his other daughter, his granddaughter, son-in-law, and all of that. So that's how we know that we can be of service. That's why I can give you these and know that more will come if I want them. Right? How often do you give away what is yours? How often do you say, "Oh, let me sing. Judy's going to sing and Andrew's going to sing"? How are you stepping up in this community to support each other? Yesterday was fabulous. I heard the legacy of love. I'm going to come to the next one. I was going to be there, but you get called, so I had to make a choice. Am I going to go be with my friend, or will I serve the church? And I'm the one who canceled last week as well. And I said to Reverend Rose, "I got to go. I got to be with my friend." And she said, "Okay, we'll get someone." That's what families do, right? And especially spiritual families. And so to sit and be with someone while they're in the discomfort, we're always learning, aren't we? So how will you choose heaven today? How will you say, "Oh yes, I forgot to reach out my hand so I can be chosen to dance today"? How will you give of what is yours to give? Because it is a circle, and if we don't give, we don't receive. That's a law of nature. It's not a unity law. It's not a Therese law. It is the law of the world. And so I'm honored that Leslie was able to step in last week. Honored that you all embraced her as well. And honored that Bo comes in to remind us and the singers step up so that we can pray twice to remember, oh yes, God, you and I dance. Let us pray. Living, loving presence, Mother, Father, God, thank you for the abundance that is us expressing. Thank you for the reminder through the physicalness of a seashell, through the harmony of voices that remind us that we get to extend our hand to you to dance in the realm of heaven that we choose to be in this now moment. And thank you for the sense of gratitude that gets us out of our head to our heart and allows us to breathe and know that because you are, all is well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We are grateful. Amen.